I wanted to delve somewhere potentially dark for my first video. It opens up a preview of what is to be expected, but also to question myself before I start this journey. I recently came upon a clip from Jordan Peterson and found the most beneficial thing I could do with that was to turn it inward. He went into the dark tetrad, which is something we'll get into, as well as bitter, resentment, arrogance, and deceit, really poisoning a soul. But jumping into the basic personality disorders, I just thought it would be interesting if we considered that in order to look into these, you would really have to assume that you have all of them. A lot of the questions, these are not questions that you can answer yourself. It's kind of just like, do people see you as? Sometimes people see you better than you see yourself. So jumping right into them, we go into Machiavellianism, which is willingness to use manipulation to get what you want. Now, I researched that, and one of the things I immediately came across was these are people that have unprincipled morals. And one thing I've been saying for a really long time is that our societies are no longer agreeing with common moral principles. Cynical. These are very distrustful of people, but not necessarily in any rational or positive way, I would guess. One thing I really stuck out was sneering disbelief in sincerity. So if you're a cynical person, you have a very sneering disbelief in society. You don't have any reason to be distrustful. So that word sneering, I think, is very important to look into what cynicalism is, because you have a disbelief, you don't believe sincerity, and you have no reason to. This implies having a gloomy, distrustful view of life. But this way, going back to the religion, I understand why now videos are edited. I typically don't like watching when videos have multiple edits, because it means they really didn't just have a thought. It was very edited and put together. They took out a lot of stuff. I can see that now because I'm jumping into two totally different parts that I wanted to talk about. One being just the definition and breaking down how I see each word, and the other one is actually what I meant to do was just assume that you have that manipulation into other people. So one thing I typically do is if I have any kind of notes or if I'm taking stuff, I start deleting stuff. So I'm going to start, as I'm deleting the notes, I'll make sure that it's gone over thoroughly instead of I'm overlooking at it. So let's just assume I do have a willingness to use manipulation to get what I want. Now, I was getting into marketing, but I realized that marketing is very manipulative. So I got out of marketing. So I don't typically use manipulation to get what I want. Pretty loaded question, because I would have to understand, what am I willing to do? Who am I manipulating? What do I want? And what is it different? What do I mean by manipulation? So this is definitely much trickier than I was originally thinking. Okay, break it down one thing at a time. Willingness. What are you willing to do? You really got to look at, okay, what am I not willing to do? And that is progress in and of itself. And what do you mean by manipulation? Well, manipulation is having somebody do something your way. And then to get what you want from who? Who is being affected by this? Well, the people that I'm selling stuff to, the people that I'm trying to convince, the people that I work with, friends, family. So you really got to understand that if everybody around you is your target, then that's wrong too. So if you're doing it at work, or you're doing it with maybe one person, a neighbor, one friend that's not really a friend, if you're doing it at all, you could be doing it to family, lovers, coworkers, anywhere you go. So the you matters because you're doing it way too much. If you're doing it at all, you're probably doing it to everybody. Moving into narcissism, narcissism is a desire of unearned social status. And that, right off the top, is you're making a YouTube video and you want to hit 1 million views. So is that earned? I have no other stuff on the channel, or if you're a different person, you're just starting off, you think you have a point of view, but that point of view obviously hasn't gotten the traction that you feel like it can here. Even if you have a handful of people, you're now talking about 1 million views, 1 million people understanding kind of what you're saying. So narcissism is very easy to see, because anyone jumping on social media is, in a sense, dabbling in narcissism, because it's unearned. And vanity. Now, this is actually why I started this channel. The definition of vanity is if you have excessive vanity in your appearance. So right off the bat, the dictionary definition is if you have vanity in your appearance, which means vanity can be in your appearance, but it could also be in something else. So what does that even mean? If you have vanity and it's not in your appearance, then where are you going? Maybe put down in the comments, how can vanity not be strictly appearance-based? Then it goes on to, you probably spend long hours doing your makeup or plucking your nose hairs. This is a Webster's dictionary definition. And that's an extremely generic way to encompass women and men. You're either doing your makeup or you're picking your nose hairs. That's where I'm right now. That's why I want to do the channel, really break into a lot of this kind of stuff. Refuse to do any work that might dirty your clothes. That is literally, when you look up the definition of vanity in Webster's dictionary, it goes on to examples of you refuse to do work that might dirty your clothes. Some stains or wear might be permanent, so dirty become permanent. Maybe you're going to an event. There's numerous reasons why it wouldn't be vain to not want to get your clothes dirty. Especially if that's into this part too, self-superiority. No, I don't believe narcissism is self-superiority. Maybe better. If you have narcissism, if we go in a different way, if you have narcissism, you don't feel superior because you need that acknowledgement. You may think you're better, you may feel that you're better, but not superior, because you're craving admiration, and it always goes into submission. If you're a superior being, you don't need admiration and you don't need submission. You're superior. If you just think you're better than people, then you might want, you could still want admiration and submission. And people high in narcissism believe that they deserve more than anybody else because they are better than everyone else. And there's the word better, not superior. It's saying that people in narcissism have a belief. And how much can you really attack this idea if it's simply a belief that they deserve more? A lot of us believe that we deserve more. Once it's anybody else, the absolute word anybody obviously doesn't really go well, but maybe that's why they put that in there, to really show the negative aspect on narcissism. Once you start breaking it down, you're like, I'm not superior than anybody because I want my thoughts to come out. I want the admiration. I don't know how you can put a positive spin on submission, but assuming that you wanted submission to belief, they submitted, someone would submit themselves in order to understand your beliefs. I don't really think it's necessarily submission in the fact of physical submission. I think it's they submit to your will and what you want to do, which, because you feel that it's better, you're not attacking them. They're submitting for the benefit of themselves. Psychopathy, which is clearly they went into very minimally, because you're basically a predatory parasite. So this is all negative. You have low empathy, which means you don't care about anybody, and you're very high impulsivity. Trouble connecting to other people's circumstances. They may believe that a certain event would never happen to them, or that they can handle the situation much better. So assuming that it's not the assuming that it's not the you just don't care and you're super impulsive, which has to have a negative aspect to it in order to be on this list. You're just trouble connecting to people. So your psychopathy is you can't relate to anybody. Not that I'm diminishing the negative aspect of this, but if you need to work on a lot of this stuff, you need to work on, because if something on this list doesn't seem that bad, it's actually much worse than that brief instant where you're latching on to them to dismiss them. You're doing them damage. And one of the things I did have for the next video, creator of Machiavellianism once argued that it was good for politicians to be deceitful because it made them more effective. And that will be for another video. Thank you.